Okay, well, hi everyone. Welcome to the Survivor Time and Change Season 4 pre-merge slash merge recap
Woo!
featuring two of my
Yeah.
favorite people. My name is Zack. I did Survivor Time and Change from seasons 1 to 7. So if you got questions and you want spoilers,
Sheesh.
hit me up on Twitter. If you guys just want to go around and introduce yourselves and what you've been up to since your time in STC, go for it.
First person hosting with Zack. I was treasurer during season 4, and I'm currently going to grad school at the University of Pittsburgh.
Should.
Oh, me. Okay. My name is Jake. I played in season 1, and then I was on crew for season 2 and 3, and I'm just happy to be here. I've been out of school for how many years, guys? 3 years. Isn't that crazy? That's fucking crazy to me. But yeah, so very excited to be back and talking about season 4.
I'm Aaron. I was the co-founder and film director of the first 3 seasons, 2 of which have aired, one of which is gonna air. And yes, Zach and Jake. And I have been out in LA since I graduated in 2018, and I just wrapped my first full season on a show. So that was pretty cool. And thanks. And I am absolutely so excited for this. I've been looking forward to this since we announced we were doing this. So let's get it going.
Hey guys, I'm Greg. I was the founder of the organization back in 2016, first season 2017, which again just seems like it was ages ago. So yeah, I am currently in medical school at Ohio State, so still in Columbus. Graduated back in 2018 with Aaron and Sam and Jake. So we're all oldies around here, but it's good to be back. Was working with the first 3 seasons, and then I was around a little bit in season 4 just because I was still in Columbus. So glad to be here and talk about this live. So.
Oh my God, we're so old. I want to die. My name is Sam Lechner. I was also an OG from the beginning. I was the original vice president of the org. TBT to me thinking that Greg was asking me out on a date whenever he asked me to be the VP of Survivor Time and Change. It's my favorite story in the entire world. Greg is not in love with me, spoiler. But I graduated in 2018. I moved to New Mexico for a couple years, taught out there, and then now I'm back in Columbus bartending, which is actually really fun and I enjoy it, but not the best job during a pandemic. So, but yeah, I'm so thrilled. I cannot wait. I got since my time in college and doing STC, I've gotten very heavily involved in the online Survivor community. So I play a lot of Survivor online. So I have a lot to say about these people. I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled. That's what I have.
All right. Well, thank you guys for those wonderful introductions. So basically, this recap is to talk about everything pre-merge and this merge episode that just aired yesterday. There's lots to discuss, so let's just go ahead and jump on in. Why don't we harken it back to January 20th of 2020 when episode 1 premiered a whole last year ago.
Can we also just say the last episode before this merge one aired pre-COVID? The entire world has changed since STC last aired.
Oh my
It
God.
was like the end of February.
No, not funny.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
no.
It's a different world. Merge is I think it's a metaphor because merge is a different world. See what I did there? Okay.
Yeah.
No, Sam,
Solid.
Oh man, we weren't feeling old already. Now I'm really feeling old.
That was actually the inspiration for the 10-month pause. The episode was in quarantine. So they're finally ready to go back out to normal life. So yeah, the premiere episode. I think the premiere is a pretty important episode. It really sets up relationships that are probably going to last and or crumble very soon. So I know some of you guys took notes. What are your thoughts on that premiere episode and what happened with poor Kimberly Roberts, first boot to now current president. Go ahead and talk about that episode. Whoever wants to start can go ahead and kick it off here.
Okay, well, first of all, I think a lot of the nice little kind of touches, the little things that you did at the beginning were really cool. I loved the torch handoff. That was really nice. I loved the fact that you guys are still naming the tribes after the languages from the CBS show is great, and they were even I don't know, the players thought they were hard to pronounce, but if you remember season 2, they don't know what they were they don't know how easy they had it. And I also thought it was funny that like a whole bunch of people in the introductions had like issues with their front teeth, which was like a nice little theme. So I don't know, that was funny. Yeah, I thought it was a great premiere. I thought it was a great opening challenge. I thought that a lot of people hit the ground running really quickly with gameplay, and I was very impressed.
Yeah, I think that first challenge, and I think when we did that initial recap, I don't know if I was there or just in the comments lurking, but that first challenge is like honestly a great way to kind of start people pitting against each other because everyone kind of has to do their own thing and like perform in the challenge. And so obviously you see someone like Haley who bombs in the challenge, and then she has to go into strategy. It's like now she's working from the bottom, and like seeing that kind of gameplay versus like people that maybe did better in the challenge and how that affects their strategy going forward. I think it's a really great way to kind of kick that season off and get people to start talking game. So I agree.
Go, Greg, go.
Okay, I was just gonna say kind of what Jake said. One of the big storylines of that first episode is you watch as Haley is like bombing this puzzle, and I remember watching that and being like, oh my god, like this is an easy, like obvious first boot, and then you watch how like these two strategies play out where like not that Kim was comfortable, but like enough where she wasn't playing as hard as someone like Haley who knew she had to work and she had to grind to get back. And I think like kind of showed like this dichotomy of gameplay where like if you're aware of where you are and you work, you can get out of that hole. But if you're almost like comfortable, and they always say, I know in shows like Big Brother, for example, like if you're comfortable, like that's when you know you're gone. And they say that in Survivor too. And that's kind of what I think Kim fell victim to, is like not that she was too comfortable, but that first week is just so important to make those connections. And you could see Haley went really out of her way to do that, which was really impressive to see.
I feel like it's pointless for me to say the exact same thing, but I respect it. I respect the grind, honestly. I hate that literally tangrams are like just apparently no one in STC history can do tangrams because it just brings me vivid flashbacks to what was that, season 1 or season 2, where we were there for like hours.
It was seriously
one.
It was, I think, because I won the challenge. It took me 50 minutes to do 3 tangrams. It was
the swap, right? That was the swap.
And I was like, I had to kill this tangram, and it was so painful because none of us knew how to do the tangrams. But like somehow I was the puzzle beast that did it in 50 minutes. It was so bad.
Yeah, that just like to watch it again in like the season 4 like opener, I was just like, not again, please Lord, not again. And it happened. And like, but honestly though, like I respect Haley's grind. I'm glad she made it through that vote. And I am really excited to see what she does at Merge. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm really pumped for her. I think she set herself up really well, honestly, going into this. So
yeah. And put some respect on Tanner Graham's name. He solved that in like 2 minutes. So listen
to me. We're all pause, hard stop. I am a stanner. I'm hashtagging that. I'm a stanner.
Oh no.
For Tanner. I'm not kidding. That man, I want him to win so bad. I have no idea who wins this season. I was not around at all. I was living in New Mexico at the time when this season aired. Like, I have no idea what happens. I want Tanner to win so bad. I love him. He's such a good player. I could talk for days about how how much I'm a hashtag Stanner.
Stanner. Oh my god.
Oh,
I thought that like 10 minutes before this started, and I was like, I'm using that shit. No, I love Tanner. He's just okay. I'll talk about it later. But from the first episode, I was like, that's my guy this season, and he has not disappointed me at all.
Well, if we're going to talk about Stanner, let's go on to episode 2, where we see a very clear difference between the way the two tribes are playing the game and the fact that Puai has no meetings the entire week. None of them meet up. There's no confessionals. They all said, we are taking the week off. And then you compare it to Aitoido, who immediately goes midnight idol hunting on a holiday. It was like the Monday was off. Everyone goes out until midnight. They're all scrambling. And instead of making an easy decision, they make a, was it strategic? Was it not? Remains to be seen for some of them. But they make a decision to take out maybe someone who was more of a gamer over someone who was going to cause tribal drama. So go ahead and talk. Stanner, why don't you step on up and talk about the vote?
Listen, this was the Morgan vote, right? Morgan goes home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really sad to see. I was sad to see Morgan go at that one because like you knew she was some queen shit. Like Morgan was gonna play. She reminds me of who's the one in season, wasn't her name Morgan too? The one in season 39 who was like running shit, and then Lauren. Wasn't that season?
You're thinking of Lauren with Kelly Wentworth? Is that who you're thinking of?
No. I'm thinking of season 39 of actual CBS Survivor.
Oh, 39.
Molly
and Morgan equals. Like you could tell Molly was whipping up some shape on that tribe, and then Lauren was like, I don't think so, and she stepped in and slit her throat. Like that's what was going to happen, I think, if Morgan stayed in the game. So I was really sad to see her go. But again, Tanner lived to see another day. I'm not mad. But this episode, I don't want to talk the whole time because I know that I will if you give me the opportunity. But this episode it makes me so angry that they let Richard get away with it. I just have no idea how in my mind they let him get away with the fact that like he lost, like that transition of how like the clue gets lost and no one knows where it ends up, and they don't realize that he's the one that had it and he gets the idol completely scot-free. No one knows he had, like, that makes me so mad that they had that kind of like, they just like let that fall through the cracks to that degree. Like no one should get away with that. And the fact that he did infuriates me because Richard runs the entire game up to merge. He literally like black and white runs it. And it's just, oh my God. Like I cannot believe it. They let him do it. I can't believe they let him do it. That's all I have to say about that. I'm gonna move on. You guys can go.
Well, dovetailing off that too, he walks like I remember watching like that whole thing unfold, and you're thinking like, there's no way these people have all like everyone who plays in STC normally is like a super fan, and I feel like those people will be watching Survivor thinking like, no way, like no one's falling for that shit, no way. I don't get it. I don't understand how you could be like, oh yeah, I lost the clue. In no world would I be like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. He totally lost the clue. Then my first suspicion would be he's fucking lying. He's totally lying. So I don't know how he got away with it. Ends up with the idol too. And then, I mean, obviously I'm getting ahead of myself now, like was able to hold on to it until he needed it most, which is poetic justice in of itself. But like, I was just like Sam. I was frustrated because you're thinking like, you're the guy on the couch screaming at the TV saying, why? Like, are you serious? He's obviously lying that he didn't lose it. He just wants to keep it for himself. This game is about lies. And he's doing that to you.
Didn't he actually end up pinning it on Max? Like Max was the one who lost it.
Yes, and then the whole series of like later that they're like, Max is he's so untrustworthy. They paint him into this villain, and Max is just like exists
there. He just
let it happen. Totally.
And it's like, how?
It's
you let this innocent human into this villain. Like, it's just it blows my mind. Like, Richard manipulates every single person pre-merge except for the two people he never met. And that's why you get so high on being on top of the game that you fall so much harder. Again, don't want to get ahead of myself. I have so much to say about that, but it's just, oh man, he just runs that shit. And I was heavily impressed.
And speaking of Max, we have the third episode where unfortunately he goes home, but we see Zane getting painted as a bigger target as Aitoito is going to more tribal. So, episode 3 thoughts.
Shout out to Zane being in the hospital during that episode, and that's why.
Yeah, he was gone for like most of the week. We're like, is Zane alive? And then he shows up to tribal.
Good for him.
Shout out to Zane. Shout out to Zane.
No, I was talking to Zack before this. I love Zane, and because rewatching this, I know a lot of these people from meeting them, but I didn't realize how funny Zane was until I rewatched it. And like, I think Aaron said this too. Like, half of his notes were like, "Here's a funny thing that Zane said. Here's a funny thing that Zane said." I'm like, he's hilarious. Like, what a character to have on the show. I mean, obviously he's like a really great guy, but like show wise, it's like what a good find. But I don't really have much thoughts episode wise, but just character wise, I was like really rooting for Zane after that episode. And
yeah, Zane is unbelievable. Like during the first idol hunt, him like, yo, Max, make sure I'm in the shot, make sure I'm in the camera shot. Like, oh my god, incredible. And then episode 3, was that? Oh no, that I guess National Treasure was episode 4. But Zane is always saying crazy shit. I love that dude. I'm so happy that he like. Honestly, like he keeps being a target. Like I'm not 100% sure why, but like he keeps surviving, so that's awesome. My favorite part of episode 3 was, and I may have imagined this, but it actually piggybacks off of the fact that like no one questions Richard, which was that at the beginning of the episode when he's having a conversation with his own alliance about the fact that nobody has found the idol, and then I swear to God, he turned to the camera like in front of his alliance and winked at the camera. I swear he did that, and I was like, oh my God, the balls on this dude! Like,
this is not The Office. Like, you can't look at the camera.
Like, oh my God!
During the whole merge banner making too, he kept doing it to us that entire time too, because obviously we know he saw Sam find the clue, and so he just kept looking at us. We're like, you need to pay attention to them.
Richard's Jim Halpert, and that's that on that.
Yeah, but I also really like Tanner too. He like in both episode 2 and episode 3, like he's already, it's clear he loves to play the game. He is always thinking many steps ahead. Like in episode 2, like he didn't have to tell Zane, like he didn't have to search for the Yoda with Zane. He didn't have to tell him about the 6-person meeting, but he is thinking ahead. He wants to keep Zane around. He wants to get out a threat, and I think he is doing a lot of this. Like he basically drove the Max vote more or less by himself. Like he's a big gamer, and I think that for the most part, like he's not really a target, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah. I think at this point in the game, I would definitely agree. I think that in terms of edit-wise, Tanner is getting the best strategic edit. Like, you can just, like, every single time that we see Tanner on screen, it's going to be, like, very, like, what is that, complex player? Is that, like, the edit? Tanner's never, I know, I'm a fucking nerd, Greg. I have gone too deep into the wormhole. It's too late. But no, Tanner's getting CP every single episode. When you see him, it's always important and it's always relevant to the storyline of the episode. And so that makes me thrilled for like his potential as the season goes on, because he's always so relevant, but it terrifies me because it means it's going to come crumbling down any moment, especially this merge.
And I will say on that point, and one thing that I bet Sam loves, based on what I've heard so far, is he's one of the people who remains skeptical of Richard. And someone who constantly is like, I'm with him, but like, I need Zane in this game more than I need Richard in this game. And that is really impressive to notice that so early on. Also, another, I'm gonna hop on the Stanner train here, because a little like super subtle thing, not subtle, it wasn't subtle at all, because like obviously a big point in the episode, but when he sneaks over and steals the clue from the other tribe, that was baller. That was sick. Because you're like, okay, I find this clue, and they band together and think, you know what? They probably got one too. And in a challenge, and in my experience, having been with the first 3 seasons, nobody is ever thinking, about the clues in the challenge. They really aren't. They're like all focused on the challenge. And these three were like, there was a clue on our side. There must be one over there. How can we subtly sneak over there and steal it? I would have never been thinking that way, because when I was at a challenge, like everyone was there with me. Nothing else mattered, just the challenge, and they were thinking strategically. I think that was super impressive. I don't know how he managed to sneak over there and get it, because I would be surprised no one saw it. But I guess because Richard would have been the only one to do it, and he's the one who helped even plan that move in the first place.
My thing is, though, after that happened, then like Tanner dives onto the ground and like takes their clue. Yes, isn't that how it happened? Like people saw him do it, if I'm remembering correctly from whenever I watched that episode. Like after that, I'd be like, fuck Tanner. Like if I was the other tribe, I would hate that guy for like taking my clue like that, regardless if he was the one that came up with the plan or not. And we can see that when the like swap comes, like it's just I feel like it's just gone from people's minds. Like I feel like they don't even like I also like, maybe I'm just like a petty player in that regard, that I would just be like, oh fuck that guy for taking the clue, you know? But like he doesn't, like he receives no backlash for it at all. I feel like it's just completely swept under the rug immediately after he does it. And no one ever questions him about it or like asks him to like, what did that clue? You know, like it's just done. It's just gone. And I'm flabbergasted that he gets away with that move so easily.
And speaking of the swap episode, which is the next one, you know, we've got a swap. We've got someone in exile now. We've got, I think, one of the longest challenges in STC history. And then we've got a survivor first with our very first rock draw, unfortunately getting out, the wonderful Megan Dank. So what are your thoughts on the fourth episode?
Before we go on, I have one more thing to share about episode 3 that doesn't make the screen. Before Tribal Council, the other 6 members of Max's tribe ate dinner at Sloopy's together and talked about voting him out 30 minutes before Tribal. And Max walked into the union and saw them all and went, well, I think I'm toast. It doesn't make the edit, but I think that's hilarious.
Poor Angel.
Oh my God.
So sad.
But anyway, rock draw, anyone?
Episode 4. There's a lot going on.
A lot goes on in the swap episode. So let's start before the rock draw. We see it's Zandy, Tanner, Cam, and then Haley, Noah, and Jordan on one tribe. And then you have Richard, Aaron, Zane versus Emily, Sam, Megan, and then Tyler's on exile. So on the other tribe, Zandy starts to show that she could be savvy. She's got a cross tribal with Tyler going that people don't know about. And in my opinion, he's the one who ruins that, not her.
Agreed.
She's also starting to plant seeds against Cam, who has shown herself to be a very strong player. And then she's the one who throws out Cam's name, and then she has Cam doubting that maybe Tanner's doing it. So there's a lot of Itoido like infighting about everyone's getting so antsy, and the Poo-Eyes are just sitting there like, we're chilling. So,
if you guys are standers, I'm a standee.
Standy.
I love her so much. Like you said, I mean, she's a player. Like, I think that especially given like how little she had to do at the beginning of the game, like you can see that she's like a player.
Like people don't see it coming either.
Right.
No, I also really liked her. And eventually, you know, she goes next episode, I think.
Episode after.
Yeah. I was so sad to see her go. I don't want to get ahead of it. But yeah, no, she was just awesome. I think she was one of the best characters of the season, like especially like pre-merge. Like I just loved seeing her in her working. I think she was the most outwardly strategic female player of the season in the pre-merge, which I really enjoyed watching. And I think they both Tanner and Zandy Tyler, is that his name?
Tyler.
Yeah, had a hand in ruining that though. They both were just like too sloppy about it, and it was waiting to come crashing down as soon as possible. So I was not surprised to see that happen whatsoever.
It was fun to see, but once people found out, they were like, we're done with that. No more.
No thanks. Yeah.
So that's that tribe. And then like
moving on to the other tribe.
The Poo-Eye people on that tribe said, we're just gonna chill. And on the other tribe, everyone said, we're gonna hate each other and
we're crazy.
You got Aaron, Richard, and Zane over there making 2 fake idols. Zane's putting on the performance of his life.
Literally.
All right. Okay. Again, this goes back to I know, I'm sure that these are just the most lovely humans in the world, but they are the dumbest bitches in STC history, and I'm saying it flat out. If you think that Zane, Mr. has never watched an episode of goddamn Survivor in his life, has found not one, but two hidden immunity idols of his own free will and volition by himself, you are dumb as shit. Like, there is no way you believe both those idols are real. Oh my god, I was just
both, especially, but why? But like the fact that there's no way that he found two. Even if he found one, what are the chances that he found two?
Idols
There's no way.
On Ohio State's campus, which has its own zip code, you find two. You think that man finds two idols?
And they're all hunting too. They're all the fucking midnight 3 a.m. hunts. Like, you know how hard is it? How did he find two? Like, there's no.
Emily already had one at this point. So did she?
Yeah, and they're still talking about these idols like they might be real. To this day, they're talking about like they might be real.
Like, still talking about being worried about this.
Like, it's the fact that this narrative has bridged into the merge, and Cam actively has to go up to Haley in episode 2 of the merge and say the idols are fake. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it infuriates me. Every episode, they're like, oh, maybe we can flush one of Zane's idols. I'm like, if you're dumb, especially since I'm almost positive at one point or another, either Richard, Tanner, or Cam told someone, yeah, I'm pretty sure the idols are fake.
They told Tyler.
Yes, I was like, he told someone. And then Tyler, I'm pretty sure, did he tell Zandy or did he not tell Zandy? I don't remember.
I don't think he told anyone.
Yeah.
But the fact that Tyler knew,
no, Zandy told Tyler.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and the fact that, like, Tyler didn't tell anyone, that's the problem. That's where Tyler's narrative goes to shit for me. Like, the fact that he didn't tell people those idols are fake. Like, that, once one person learned that should have spread, like, wide.
Everyone.
Also, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but the fact that Tyler's whole plan in episode 6 was based on the idols being real, even though he already knew they were fake. Like, what the hell was he thinking?
There were so many things with those stupid fucking fake idols that I was just like, I was the guy yelling at my TV, like, what are you doing?
But I have to say, so like Zack has said, like, Puai was chilling, right? And so the other tribe was not, and they were playing. And when I see someone like, I know Zane hasn't seen much Survivor, but like, the man exudes confidence and he has swagger. He comes in and he's confident with what he's saying to you. So you know what? If that man comes in and tells me he has 2 idols and he shows me some like 2 artifacts, if I'm not playing the game hard and I visibly see he is, then I might believe him. I might. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one. But he has that confidence, and I respect that about him. So I think that's maybe why it was a little bit more believable.
Stupid. Like, you can plan ahead and say, what if they're both real? Now what? But they're like 100% these are real. We're going to play like they're real until the merge and beyond. I'm like, if they were real, they would have been played by now because he's been targeted every round. Yeah. It's like, why would he still on to 2 idols? I don't know.
Despite the speculation, they all still vote the same way. There is no in all of the episodes, in episode 5 and episode 6, where Zane is episode 6 he's not vulnerable, but they are still like, well, we'll still vote for him. So there was like, they were like, maybe they're real, but they were still like, I don't give a fuck, which I think is hilarious. That they were like, if he idols me out, I guess that's fine, but we're still gonna vote like this.
I mean, respect on the name of Richard and Aaron for like making those fake idols and just being like, Zane, do this, and then him. Honestly, I think, Greg, you're right. Like, he really does play it off very well. Like, Zane is definitely, of all the people who were going to, like, confidently, I think, play it, I think that Zane's, like, character was the one that was going to, like, you know, I think get away with it best. I think he could pull it off the best. But just the fact that they believed it, oh, man, I don't even know what I would have done in that moment. If he, like, whipped him out of the tribe, I'd be like, where'd you find him? You know, like, I feel like I'd press him more until he
even like believe it enough to target Aaron, and then they proceed to go to rocks because of this idol scare.
Just it's wild to me. But I mean, respect. It was such a fun tribal to watch. Like, that episode was just ecstasy of STC.
Yes.
content.
Also, the balls on Emily not to play hers when she's getting votes in a rock draw situation. 2, the balls of Richard to go to rocks when you have an idol is like unparalleled. Like that is nerves of steel.
That was big dick energy from everyone on that tribe. Like they really did that.
And if everyone's getting rocked out, Megan is probably, she was very fine. She was like, well, that's how it ends. Anyone else who would have drawn that purple rock would have been like, I can't believe I fucking went to rock. She's like, well, I did this and this is what I get. So thanks for the fun, guys. Like she was very chill about it, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah. And I know afterwards, like we had talked about it, Megan being the one rocked out, especially with Tyler coming into that tribe, was like the least detrimental to the relationships that were currently going on in the game, because we've already seen like Emily, Sam, Tyler working together. Obviously, Zane, Aaron, and Richard are tight. So Megan going wasn't that big of a deal. So next episode, we got Tyler coming in. We've got a challenge where 2 people are winning immunity and a double tribal. So episode 5.
You know who we haven't talked about yet? Sam. That man is a cuddly, perfect teddy bear. I love him.
I got him to fly.
Oh my god, I can't believe I haven't said any words about him yet, because he's probably one of my other favorite people on this season. Like, I just adore him. When Sam and Tanner get paired up for that immunity challenge, it was like my personal season dream. It was watching them get the least number of questions right and then win the fucking challenge. Like, that was just, I was thrilled. I was so happy about it. And I could not have played out better for me and my viewership. That's it.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate the fire.
Any other episode 5 thoughts?
There's a lot that goes on in episode 5. So let's tuck into, first of all, the Cams, Andy, Tanner, and then Haley, Noah, Jordan. Noah immediately is like, I'm down, I'm out, like ready to flip on Jordan. And it must be said that if Pua had gone to another tribal council, Jordan was like a unanimous boot. Like he probably couldn't have dug his way out of being booted at all. So it's not like editorially, maybe it's a surprise, but in real life, it's not a surprise at all because they were already all pretty much planning to do that anyway. I think the biggest surprise is maybe that Haley and Jordan were connected in some way or shape or form, where Jordan really trusted her. So that is interesting. And it's interesting that Cam gets information that her own tribe is trying to take her out. And she's still like, well, we're going to work together again on this vote. So talk about that tribe dynamic and Jordan getting the little boot there. Bad move, good move.
I'm trying to not be the first one to speak at every given opportunity.
Let's hear from Greg.
I can talk, sure. So I think this might not exactly answer your question. One of the things I found interesting in this episode was how well placed someone who we haven't talked about surprisingly yet is in Cam, and how well, like, she has people coming to her from every side. And so one thing we've talked about is like Zandy's downfall and where she went wrong, or where Tyler went wrong in that whole relationship. One of the things I think Zandy does wrong is revealing to Cam about this discussion that Cam was a target. And like that whole thing is the first domino. And then Tanner comes to Cam and says that too. And then now that's like even further dividing this 3-on-3 dynamic in that tribe, and also further isolating Zandy to even set her up next episode. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, to be the next target because nobody trusted her. And I think this is really one where it really shows how well positioned Cam is. I thought that was awesome to see. The whole vote against Jordan. I think if you were looking at like there's 4 pairs of 3 in this, right? And so out of all the 3s, that 3 original Puai was obviously the weakest of those 3. I think Haley is someone who was like kind of wanting to align with other people. I don't know what the hell Noah's doing. And Jordan was just kind of latching on to Haley, and I don't know if he had really any leg to stand on. So it was like that 3 was, if there was any 3 that was going to cave, it was them. And that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, Jordan's really only leg was Megan, and she had just been eliminated from the game. And I think it's also, we were talking about Cam. Like, Cam is the one who gets Noah and Haley really on board with that vote. So it shows that even if Tanner and Zandy were targeting her, clearly she was the link to the Puai people that they would have needed. So very good placement.
Yeah, she's got literally an ear in every conversation, and people are coming to her whenever her name comes up. And that's, I think, the most valuable thing that you could have in a game like this is that when you get talked about, the people then come and tell you. And because you are in the conversations without actually being in them. And that has some tremendous value. And Cam is in that spot, and you really see it in this episode.
And so flipping to
Sam, like their
Sam, do you have to say something?
I was going to say, the only thing I was going to say is Cam is the social queen of this season. Like, there is just, hands down, no questions asked, exactly what Greg said. Like, she's just so connected. And I think that the only reason that, like, I think the main reason Zandy is the one that gets set up at this next tribal is because of her additional relationship to Tyler. I think it was both of those things that really led to her being the one they didn't trust rather than Tanner, when really both of them came and said the same thing within minutes of each other. Cam had to pick who she had to trust. Zandy had more built up, like, sketchiness on her resume, I guess. And I think that was really what ended up doing her in.
And so
the last thing I'll say about the Itoito part of this was that I think this was the Itoito part, or maybe. Yeah. Emily found the idol like really quick, and I think that I love Emily. I think she's doing great. We can talk about that more later, but yeah, I think she's in a good position as well.
So speaking of Emily and the rest of her tribe, Tyler's joined that tribe. We get Richard and Tyler talking now, and we're not sure if Richard's gonna stick with his people or maybe flip to Tyler, but Tribal Council tells Richard sticking with his side. Tyler goes home. So talk about this side of the game.
So to me, from even a couple episodes before that, I put it in my notes somewhere. Okay, I put it in my notes for episode 4. This might be a deep cut, but maybe not. Tyler reminded me of Alex from Survivor Fiji.
Wow, that's a deep cut.
Wow.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you why. Because they both were big gamers. They both were leaders, and they came off as leaders and maybe a little overbearing, but they also were always like self-conscious of it. They were always like, oh, do I come off as a leader? Do I come off that way? I don't mean to come off that way. And I just that style of play doesn't tend to work out very well in the end. So the fact that it went the way it went for Tyler, especially because, like I said, he was trying to do this crazy complicated plan when he already knew the idols were fake and all of that. So I enjoyed watching Tyler, but I'm not surprised that it went down the way it went down.
He was his own undoing.
Yeah, I think one of the most frustrating parts about this, and kind of tying a lot of what we've talked about together, is Richard just went to rocks for this group. And again, I'm thinking, in what world do I think now, after surviving that and seeing his reaction to that, is he just going to be like, all right, went through all that trouble, now fuck him, I'm leaving? Like, that wasn't going to happen. He wasn't flipping. And I wish Tyler, I guess maybe not being on that tribe maybe made a difference because he wasn't at that tribal. But again, in my head, I'm thinking, why? Why in what world would he now just be like, yeah, I know I went to rocks for him and almost put my own game in jeopardy, but like now I'm totally willing to do it.
Mine is just like during the Richard and Tyler conversation, the wannabe big dick energy of this convo, like I was a little in pain. It was like, you just know both. And like, I feel like I'm shitting on Richard so much, and I adored watching him play. Like, I was living for every minute on that screen, and I need everyone in the world to know that. But just like, you could see how badly both of them just wanted to run this game. And it was just watching them like come together and then like instantly like explode because they weren't like, it was just like, they both wanted to be the alpha, and like, Richard was like, can't have another alpha in here, and just took him out without a second thought. Like, it was just chef's kiss. I love to see it. I love men turning on each other. It's the best.
Delicious.
I love to see it.
I have a question, actually, for some people here. If you guys want to talk about, like, what do you think happens if he maybe goes with the plan? And what if Richard and Tyler actually team up? Like, where do you think that dynamic kind of takes the game? Because I actually think this is taking out, like, a quote unquote kingpin of the game, like someone who was in a lot of conversations, had this cross tribal alliance with Zandy. And I don't know what the answer to that question is myself, but I'm curious to know what you guys think. Is like, what if he actually goes through with it and wants to work with Tyler? I think Tyler very much wanted to work with Richard, obviously. So
I honestly like seeing the game up to the point where we're at in the merge. I mean, we see once they're together, they immediately flame out. So I guarantee if they had been together and Tyler did survive this vote, it's probably the same thing next tribal. The longer those two are on a tribe together, one of them is going home soon.
I think it'd be a similar dynamic to what Richard and Tanner's dynamic is that they're working together, but they're not working together. Like, there is surface level working together, but Richard's got his thing with Cam and Aaron, and then Tanner has his thing with Zane, and like they are working together, but they are not each other's closest.
They're always like slightly targeting each other on the side.
Yeah. And like you can see Tyler, that move would only have benefited Tyler because it would be protecting Tyler's allies, not Richard's. So that would have always just, I think, burst into flames and it did as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Good hypothetical, Greg. I liked that.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that scenario because Richard was like, as soon as it even started, was like, Tyler's got to go. And I think he was the only person in the game who was like, this guy's got to go. And it just, bad luck for Tyler ending up on
it immediately was, Tyler was done.
Yeah. I almost saw so much of it, and this is just because of the company that we're in now. I guess you guys will get this. I almost saw a little bit of like a Tyler and Vinny relationship in this, in that like one of them was like the strategic guy who just like knew this wasn't in his benefit, and that obviously being Richard like compared to Vinny, and whereas like Tyler put a lot of faith, and they're both aptly named Tyler. Like Tyler put a lot of faith into Richard and trusted him, and then like that was his demise in season 1. So I think like that was super interesting for me to see, is that like it's two people who are both these very social, like well-connected people, where one just shouldn't have trusted the other and really wanted to. So I thought that was interesting.
I think funnily enough too, I remember from season 4 interviews, Tyler started talking and I went, this is the love child of Vinny Bonta and Tyler Allen. And you can't convince me otherwise.
That's hilarious. I love that.
I can see
one more thing about this is that I think this episode highlights that Sam is a very underrated player. And Emily and Tyler are sitting in a meeting with Sam, and Sam's like, I don't think we can trust Richard. He's like not going to help us. Like, I don't understand why you guys want to do this. And then Emily and Tyler immediately are like, Sam, shut up. Your opinion does not matter here. And I think it really shows that sometimes that he's like relaxed, but he's playing the game, and people are underestimating his abilities to
absolutely underestimation, because he comes off as so like cool and go with the flow and funny, but like he's thinking, and you see it in his confessionals and stuff that he's like thinking about the game. And so it's like interesting to see that kind of player in this environment, and especially kind of the preamble to like what happens in this episode of that Sam versus Richard kind of dynamic. So
he's one of those people to where all the other contestants are like, this dude's just like so out there, like so chill all the time. He can't be taking the game seriously. Me being a personal friend of him, like he absolutely loved playing in this, to the point where he was like, if I dropped out of school, can I still play? And I had to tell him no. I was like, you have to still be a student. Like you can't do that.
Oh, he's so good. He's so good.
All right. Any parting thoughts on this before we go to episode 6?
No, not Zandy. No.
Okay.
Who even running?
Episode 6, I'd like to say, I think me and Sam came up with this where we wanted to swap them one last time just to fuck with them. And it totally worked, because literally if you watch the clip, all of them dropped their jaws and they want to claim afterwards that they knew it was coming, but each and every one of them has a shock.
They thought they were merging.
So we see Cam, Aaron, Richard end up back together with Zandy and Emily, and then Haley, Noah, Sam with Tanner and Zane. And it's
we watch a terrible challenge throw. Like
horrible.
So bad.
Richard like literally just drops the bucket. Noah says, I'm struggling, and Richard goes,
It's so funny.
I
It's so
forgot what
funny.
challenge we were talking about, and then I just remember so vividly in my mind now, Richard, and I was just like,
This
that
could not be more obvious. Like, it's so funny.
every
It's so funny.
oh, it was so funny though. Maybe it wasn't as obvious. Was it as obvious in person?
No, it was very well. I guess we all knew he was going to throw it, but Noah literally says, "Man, this is getting hard," and Richard goes, like, and that seems like an exaggeration, but he literally looks to the rest. He doesn't like pretend to struggle. He doesn't like mess with the rope at all. He just boom is out.
Yeah.
And also, it didn't make this isn't on camera, but Zandy is giving him so much encouragement during this challenge. She's like, "You can do this, Richard. You got," because she's the one right by the fence. And then every time she turns around, Richard looks at the camera and goes, like, he's like dogging.
Richard mugging. Oh my god.
I think
He
it's
was
like you can
dogging
see
on
it
her
in the
hard.
episode too, where she turns around and he just drops.
Yeah, he was dogging on her. So yeah, they throw the challenge to get rid of Zandy. So let's talk about that boot. What are our clearly we've already talked about she was trying to do a little too much and it caught up with her right before merge. So let's talk about that dynamic.
Honestly, I feel like had Zandy even like stayed, I feel like she would have been a really easy merge boot anyways. Like I feel like she almost would have gone first or second in the merge as like a, we can all agree we don't trust her, let's just get rid of her now. Had the other tribe won, because I feel like had the other tribe won, Zayn probably would have gone home at that tribal, right? Like I don't think there would have been any. I don't think Tanner can only save Zayn so many times in the pre-merge before he just goes home. So I feel like Zayn goes there, and I think Zandy is the one they rally behind to like easy merge boot. Maybe the Richard situation still happens, or maybe it doesn't. But I think Zandy still honestly goes soon thereafter, just because of the amount of like distrust she built with all of her original tribe.
And that's pretty clear in the fact that the other tribe is even talking about her and how they don't trust her, even though they're not even on the tribe with her anymore.
Exactly.
Right. She got dealt a tough hand there. It was sad.
She got dealt a really tough hand. That's what I was going to say, is like there was not a worse draw for her. Although I will say, like on the outside looking in, I looked at this tribe and I said, obviously, Emily Perko, who like to my knowledge does not know Survivor very well, somehow holds on to the idol when she is literally the only like if I'm looking at this tribe from the outside, not knowing the dynamics, she's an easy picking. And I was shocked. I think that was the most impressive part of the episode is like, I think Zandy was somewhat of a predictable boot knowing the dynamic, but Emily having the awareness and confidence that it wasn't her. If you're the only person who wasn't on that tribe, everyone, of course, is going to tell you they're going to turn on their own. But with the way things have gone, why would you believe them? And she did, and it paid off. I'm shocked she got through with the idol.
Yeah, that was some queen shit for sure.
Yeah, that was amazing. And also her literally just like chucking the bucket at Zandy, not caring which way was up during the challenge. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Oh my god. That challenge.
Aaron, you pick up on the smallest things. It's so great. Sorry, Zach.
I love the little details about like all the things. Like I could even talk about like I know we already went through these episodes, but like when Richard is talking about the idols, and then like I know there was one tribal where Greg Lawrenson posed the questions about the idols to each of the people sitting next to Richard, so that Richard was in the shot for those questions. What a great idea! Like just things like that. I love that you guys were doing that.
So we did a hypothetical before. This is my favorite hypothetical ever, and I pose this to Richard often. And that's if you keep Zandy in the game, how much further does your game go? Because you just cut off her only ally, and she's begging you guys to work with her, and she's begging to stay in the game. She really doesn't have anywhere to go. Does keeping Zandy in the game keep you afloat, or does it not really change too much anyway?
Well, it probably, like Sam says, it probably extends his life one more vote, because I think the rally cry would be around Zandy. And I also think that the way that this vote panned out, where like when the advantage got played, then like everyone flipped on Zayn. I don't know if everyone would be as quick to flip that same way. I feel like it would play out a lot different. And I think Zandy's more likely to go here than Richard does. I don't know long term, because he's still a huge threat at that point. Like I think, like we say about Tanner, obviously being aware of that, and everyone else kind of starting to pick up on that too, with Sam talking about it. Eventually, his number's up, but maybe it gets him a couple more votes.
You also have to think too, because Sam has that advantage, and using that vote still gives them the advantage with Emily. If Emily gets voted out instead of Zandy, they're not going to have the advantage. So does Sam even use that? Like the entire merge vote could have been completely different.
Because it'll be 6.
I wonder that exact same thing. So I was doing the math as you were doing this, like typing out notes, and it would have been 6-on-3. And in no world do I not see that 6 likely targeting Sam at 9. I think that he is out of the 3 original Pooh Eyes that are left there. So you would have had Haley, so you would have had Haley, Sam, and then who am I missing?
Noah.
And Noah. I can't see a world where you would target Haley or Noah over Sam, especially after Sam having gone to Rocks in episode 4 and being a part of that narrative. I think he's the easy 9th place boot. So I don't know what happens. I think the advantage almost goes to waste and he goes home 5-4, or he doesn't play it at all and he goes home 6-3.
Yeah. I would like to say in this universe, before the steal a vote, they were planning to boot Noah, as they wanted Noah to be 9th place.
Really? What?
No one knew what he was doing. So they were just like, get him out, it's easier.
That's fascinating. I don't know what he's doing either. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's doing anything, honestly. That's my reading.
Me watching the merge episode when they tell Noah that Sam has the steal vote in the car.
It's so funny. He did not react.
Nothing. He just sits there and goes,
"Go on, girl." He's like, "Oh yeah, cool." Like he said, "Cool." I'm like, "Cool, your life just got saved. What are you doing?"
In the minority. You are like, one of your alliance members is going home. Like, you are donezo. And like, this man comes to you on a silver platter. Your alliance is saved, and you go, okay. Like, oh, dude. I mean, I'm exuberant as fuck, so like maybe that's just me, but like I was just like, come on, man. Like, be glad to be here.
I'm thinking back to like when Will pulled out the idol in season 1. I see Jake looking at the camera and he goes, "Yes!" and he's pumped. And I'm thinking about that moment. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
Go on, girl. Give us nothing. Like, give us literally nothing.
So now that we're already kind of there, let's talk about this merge episode. You know, they're merging, the challenge, all the strategy, Sam finding this advantage, and the unfortunate boot of Richard.
Well, I'll just say the title, incredible. what a great merge episode title. Like, that is so funny to me. And as a naturally sweaty person, I can 100% relate to what Sam is saying.
Okay,
like,
so
every time he pulled up the piece of paper and it's so crinkled and gross looking, I'm like, that is so funny to me. Like, it's covered in his sweat. Like,
so me and Greg Lawrenson went to film him to like make him read that to us. And you can hear us in the episode laughing our heads off because he's taking out and he's so sweaty. It's hysterical.
I'd also like to say, you can clearly see that he has pockets in the episode because he pulls out his old buff. So,
and then he turns to sit here and like go like this for what felt like 5 minutes of him going like this. Like, it was not slick. Like, so sorry, Sam, but that was not slick at all.
I can't believe everybody didn't see that. He took like 5 minutes to do it.
Too. And even the rest of the episode, Sam's like, you guys didn't see that? I told him for nothing.
I'm just, but also the thing is too, Richard wasn't even near him, was he? Wasn't Richard like
he was across the way, so I think that helped him because he was looking at him.
Richard also, when they were like walking down the stairs, could see the buff, and we only had a big piece of paper, so the buff looked weird. And Richard noticed that while they were walking down. That's why he noticed when Sam went over and then started looking at him.
It's like cut to like season 2 and season 3 where people find little scrolls, and then this giant like 3.5 by 11. I'm like, how do you conceal that? Like, so I do know what it's supposed to do, fold it in half and keep folding it to fit in his pocket. I don't really know what to do there, but
yeah, the problem was we couldn't like fold it anymore because then it'd be very obvious that there's something poking up.
And we could have put it on like smaller paper because it was a lot of instructions.
Yeah.
I guess we could have hidden it like an idol, but you know what? You live, you learn.
We could have written a piece like claim your reward or something and had him get it later, but
yeah,
this is more fun.
I also want to say, and this is the first time this one makes camera, and this is great. I don't know if we did this in like one of the summer seasons of STC or not. I think that's maybe where this was birthed out of. I love this advantage. I think this is so freaking cool. I think it's.
No,
I don't
you didn't.
remember it.
Sam, you suggested this because I think like Meredith or someone had it in 3.5 or something like that.
Yeah, whatever it was. So like one of the unaged seasons had it in STC, and I think this advantage is like so creative.
Our thing is what happened.
Yeah. And I just think it's so cool because I think a steal a vote is like you have this whole dynamic at tribal, and then out of nowhere someone's like, "Ha, we just had this whole conversation. Now screw you, I'm taking your vote." But in this one, you needed to make a decision coming in, and whatever that decision was is going to impact the rest of the conversation because some people knew about it, some people didn't. But obviously, going into this, everyone knew about Sam's advantage, which like was a whole mess up in itself. But I thought it was fascinating. I think if this is played in a different scenario, maybe not where everyone knows about it, that really fucks up a lot of things in a tribal council potentially. I would have loved to have seen it used in a tribal where everyone didn't know it was there. Because if the whole other tribe then is like, shit, we had this whole plan, a vote split or like something, and now he can't vote, they scramble in tribal in one of those crazy whispering ones.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been really fun to watch.
It quickly turns into a season 40 tribal council, like within instance, which could have been really, really fun.
Maybe fun for us to watch, but then you don't hear anything because we don't have mics. We don't have subtitles. I think as a college Survivor viewer, maybe not so much. But like PBS Survivor, really fun because we got the mics. But
yeah.
So debatable on whether I think it'd be interesting because, like Greg said, you have to like come into tribal with a plan, and it's completely thrown out the window. But I'm happy with the way it played out because it was less like everything was caught on camera at least. So like for a viewer, it was like a nice kind of
yeah. And there was still suspense. I mean, the suspense that still had to come up was like, is Richard going to play the idol? Which had Richard not had an idol, I think this would have been a lot less exciting. But because he said explicitly, like, if he plays the advantage, I have to play my idol. Then I'm like, okay, like Richard, let's do it. And then he doesn't, and your jaw drops because you know what's happening then. You know that they got the plan to work because nothing else was discussed. So I liked that there was still some suspense there, even knowing everyone knew that Sam had the advantage.
And I think too, this really shows people are like sleeping on Sam for a lot of this game, and all of a sudden Sam's here and he's like, "I got this. We can get Richard. Like, let's do it."
Well, that's the thing. He chose to target Richard. It wasn't like, and I think the beginning half of the strategy post challenge was like, Zane would be the easy vote, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, well, what if we did something more interesting? And it's like, so he's really thinking. Like, it's not like he's just like, oh, we've got the numbers. Let's just do Zane, steal the vote to make sure it happens. Like, he's like, let's take this opportunity and use it, which was really cool.
This vote is so important, I think, for so many people's games. I think, one, it shows that Sam is a player. It, like, really highlights his ability to, like, think like forward in the game, which I love because I think Sam is so fun. Two, it shows that the work Tanner has put in to try and make connections with the guys on original original play is working because they trusted him more than they trusted Richard and didn't even think to blindside Tanner because they thought he would be the most likely to flip of all the original Itoidos. So team, #Stanner. And even if it was only that they trusted Tanner a little bit more than they trusted Richard, they trusted Tanner a little bit more than they trusted Richard, and Sam wasn't willing to target him at that vote instead, even though they are both outwardly very strategic players, which I love for Tanner. I will bring every conversation back to Tanner if I can. Third, I have so much to say about this episode, so I'm just going to...
Let's go.
Entire episode is told from Haley's narrative. Like, it is Haley is telling the story. And I will be the first to say I did not like Haley's arc in the beginning of the season, but coming into the merge, I am so excited to see what she does because she is placed so well in this where I don't think anyone wants to vote her out. I don't think she's a threat to anyone right now, but she is making really good connections. She was aggressively attacking this vote. Like, she went to everyone. Every single conversation we saw, Haley was in it. Like, 99%. She put in work this round. I think she's like really setting herself up as a powerful player. The final thing I want to say, I have other things we can talk about like other players, but the one thing I want to say is as much it like pained my soul to watch Richard not play that idol. because he literally, just like Greg said, he spells out it would make no sense to take Zayn's vote if they want him to play an idol, like, because then our end of the plan will go through as like it's supposed to, whatever, like Sam goes home, blah 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 blah, right? He literally lays out all the logic and then doesn't do it. And I think 100% the reason he does that, I'm gonna parallel to myself because I'm a freaking egotistical whore, but like, I have played an online game before where I have an idol in my pocket and everyone in the world, you know, like everything is right. And I was running the game up until that point. Like I had no reason, like I was on top of the world. And the second you get the most comfortable, when you get so sure that you are running the game, like Richard is, every single vote goes exactly as Richard plans. Like Richard is running this game, all of pre-merge. When you get that kind of high of like being on top of the game to such a degree, it is so hard to expect yourself to be blindsided when like you think you know a plan. Like it's so hard to see yourself not on top of the game when you've been running it for that long. And I can 100% identify with that. It's so like you look back and you're like, all the signs are there. It makes so much sense. I was never on a tribe with Haley. I was never on a tribe with Noah. They have no reason to keep me in this game. We have no relationship. But he doesn't even, you know, and even if he knows it could happen, he thinks he's invincible to the game because he has an idol in his pocket. And it's just, that's the moment that you lose. And so I completely understand why he doesn't play the idol. And it just breaks my heart to see, like, I identify with Richard's game so wholeheartedly because it is me every time that I play. And I just, it's so hard to watch.
And building on what you said, like Haley and Noah had never been on a tribe with him. I feel like it's really hard to tell story arcs in College Survivor because filming can be so inconsistent. But I think one thing that was consistent is that Sam does not like Richard and Richard does not like Sam. And I think, like, you know, you just caught him with this. You were blackmailing him and you expect him to use it on the person you want to use it on. Like, there's a lot of, I think it's a very good end to the story arc of them, like Sam being like, Richard's a threat and nobody listens to Sam. And Sam says, this is my opportunity to take out the person who I want out. And he does it. And Richard literally says, if Sam does this, I'm going to play my idol, and he doesn't do it. I think it's a great conclusion to that arc.
I would agree. Yeah, it's just hard to watch, but it needed to happen.
I want to talk about someone that we haven't talked about again in a while, who I think is still, you said this is told from Haley's perspective. I think in conjunction with that is told from Cam's perspective. I think Cam is a pivotal player in this episode. So I'm watching Cam, and she is the first person. I know, like, the vote doesn't go her way here, and in no way was she ever planning on, like, I don't think we ever really hear her say, like, oh, if Richard leaves, like, it's okay. But you see her start setting things up for down the road when it becomes them 5. She hears, like, oh, the guys want to target me as number 5. I'm going to start setting myself up. And I thought that was mad impressive. And the only reason why Haley has a door to open with the other tribe is because I think Cam opens it. And I think Cam invites her into the conversation and says, like, hey, I want to start getting these girls together, where she brings in that, I think they called it the girl gang, like that group of girls comes together and says, like, well, we're worried about the guys taking over when we get to 7 to 6 to 5. And Cam's thinking ahead, and she sees Haley as this opportunity. And I thought that was super impressive.
Yeah, I think it also goes back to pre-merge. Like, Haley has Emily from their old tribe. Cam has Aaron from their old tribe. Haley and Cam have this relationship, and Haley wants to work with the women, and Cam is like, yes, let me bring my friend. You bring your friend. We'll have a good little party, and we'll annihilate men. Sounds like
we love it.
We love it.
That's also one of my favorite points of this episode. I told Sam Lechner this via text, but in this episode, you get to see Haley talk shit about every man
in the game. And she literally said, here's my hit list, and here's why I hate every single one of them. Bah, 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 bah. I was like, it was so delicious to watch her just, here's why men are shit. And then she just did it. I was like, it was so
Love
funny.
it.
So funny. Well, any more thoughts on, like, the boot? We have more to talk about, but any more thoughts about like, Richard himself, or what he could have done, what he did wrong, what he could have done better, things like that?
I will say this about Rich the bitch.
I screamed when they said that. I was in tears. I was so happy. That was hilarious. Sorry.
I will say this. I did my notes for the premiere before the merge episode came out, and in my notes, and I quote, Richard is in the driver's seat at Itoto, so he'll probably be the merge boot. So I saw that shit coming. But yeah, I mean, I think he got kind of comfortable, you know, in his position, like Sam was saying. And yeah, like you can't totally blame him for that, but yeah, I mean, he was an entertaining guy, and he was playing the game, so it would have been interesting to see if he played the idol how the season would have went. But this is another vote like similar to Tyler's, where I'm not surprised really that he was caught off guard, because he seemed like he was getting too comfortable.
I think one thing I really found interesting about this vote and the boot, but like most especially with Richard, a couple things here. So Richard reminds me a lot, and this is not ironic in any way, but of Greg Lawrenson. And if you've seen Greg's downfall in season 2, I guess I hope at this point that if you're watching this, you've at least seen season 2. So hopefully that's not a spoiler. But like super similar, where he had these basically relics that could have gotten him out of this position, and he makes a very calculated risk. But I think Greg's was a little bit more calculated than maybe this one, where he had the chance to save himself and he chooses consciously not to do so. If it pays off, he gets to 8 with an idol and saves face with a lot of people. I get it. But there was such a us versus them mentality in this season, at least in the pre-merge, especially, I keep coming back to it, these people went to rocks for each other. So I don't see why this would have been the right move in my eyes, is Richard plays the idol and you don't vote out your own. Don't vote for Zayn. They were
that does not
out one of the other ones. Yes.
I kept watching back. I don't understand. Like, I didn't hear, or maybe I missed it, the moment where they said, you know what we're going to do if they play this steal a vote? We're going to flip our vote onto ourselves. Like, and I know that they were like the boot that like could happen, but if the like worst case scenario, you throw it on someone else, like you guys are going to go home anyways. I don't know what they were trying to predict there or plan, but that just didn't make sense to me in terms of why they flipped the Zayn.
I understand the women voting for Zayn because faced with their new women's alliance. That makes sense to me. But Richard and Tanner flipping their votes to Zayn when the thing is played does not make sense. Maybe, honestly, no. I could even see Tanner. Richard flipping his vote to Zayn.
No.
Tanner doesn't need Zayn anymore. Tanner already is like, they think he's going to flip to work with the P tribe. But I don't, what is it? Puai?
Puai.
All right. I'm sorry. God, I sound like them on episode 1. But
Season 5 is even better.
I could see anyone flipping, but like Richard has made I don't feel like no statements throughout the entire course of the episode that he wants Zayn to like go. Whereas I think Tanner's like, yeah, he can go. Tanner, I feel like he has other options, avenues. Like Richard's very, very much set at this point in his Itoto, Iowaya alliance. Like he's got to stay there, right? Like he's got to stay there. So Richard's the only one that doesn't make sense. He's like, yeah, let's just vote out Zayn, whatever. That's the one that doesn't check out to me. But I mean, I guess at that point too, maybe you're just like, there's so many things and I don't know. There's so many things in play.
I think it also goes back to, I think Itoto as a whole super underestimated Puai's strategic abilities, and the fact that they went, oh, Puai doesn't like Zayn, so obviously they're going to vote for Zayn because all they vote on personal feelings. They never make strategic decisions.
Yeah.
So there definitely was like, and also I think it's fair to say like Haley and Emily are part of that girls alliance, and they're like, let's vote Zayn. Haley and Cam meet, they both talk about Zayn. Richard and Haley meet, they talk about Zayn. Like all the Puai conversations they had are about Zayn. So there is some fairness to them. Like, okay, all we've heard is Zayn, and couple that with underestimation of their opponent. They probably were like, well, let's just do Zayn, and then we all save face for next round.
Yeah, I think.
I think about voting too. If someone's gonna steal a vote and they steal a certain person's vote, you're like, okay, it's probably them. So if all you've been hearing is Zayn on that side, you're like, okay, I'll just jump on that bus, I guess.
So I'd say quite the opposite to that, though. I would say sometimes you would steal the person's vote to make it think that, like, you think that, and then you're going to vote out someone else. So, like, if they had an idol, they'd play it and still not go home. And you would still get on the winning side of the vote, even though they played an idol trying to counter it. I get it. I understand the logic. And I think that was talked about, is like, if the idol is played, like if we steal Zayn's vote, they're all going to think we're voting Zayn, and then we'll just vote out someone else. And that worked to perfection.
I think that's coupled with the fact that Aitoito drastically underestimated that Puai could pull a strategic move like this.
Yeah, and kudos to Sam. That is all Sam. I think that was really massively impressive. I also think worth mentioning is the fact that even with this new relationship of Haley and Cam, that Haley didn't spill anything. I think that was super admirable too. Is that, like, if you want to build up trust, and then she completely crossed her. Haley totally crosses this new alliance she just forms. I'm interested to see where that goes. So I don't know. We're talking about Cam and Aaron flipping on Zayn to save face with the girls, but Haley didn't do that. So I'm worried. I'm worried there might be fallout from that. So we'll see.
I mean, Cam, I feel like of all the people in the season, though, is the most willing to work with people who want to vote her out anyways, or who have crossed her. Since I feel like the entire season, Cam's just been like, oh, you're throwing my name out? Let's vote together. You know, like, I feel like she does it every fucking round. Like, people always want to vote Cam out. So I think she's still going to want to work with Haley in the long run. I don't see her ruling it out, especially now that, like, you're down on numbers. How much do you actually trust Zayn? You know, like, I feel like there are so many things in play there that I think Cam's going to get over it pretty quickly. And I think Aaron will too. I think they're both going to just kind of try and move forward without, you know, Kingpin Richard in the way. I don't see it being too much of an issue.
I think Richard going home really opens up the game, because I think we see on Puai, like, Emily and Sam are working together, but Emily wants to work with the girls and she doesn't want to tell Sam. And then Haley's like, no one, Sam, I don't know what you're doing. So there's no anchor there. And then on Aitoito, I think Richard was really anchoring them all together, even though, because, like, there's mistrust of Tanner, and then Zayn is doing Zayn stuff. And so I think without Richard there, the game really opens up, because we see a lot of cracks, and Richard was really the one piece of glue holding everything in place. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see, do those cracks, you know, does Richard going heal them back together, or does it completely break apart and bust open?
And while we're already touching upon this, you know, moving forward, we're seeing this girl gang start to form. Sam's coming out as a strategic threat. You know, Zayn's entire alliance just voted against him. So what's he about to do? What do you think happens moving forward from this episode?
That's the most exciting part of this for me, is that literally, like, Zayn's entire alliance just voted, like, just tried to vote him out. And, like,
but I still think he has idols.
Everyone that, like, hates Zayn and, like, doesn't want him in the game at all didn't vote for him. And so I feel like Zayn's going to be such a, like, I feel like he's such an impulsive kind of guy that, like, his playing style from here on out, like, I don't even know what he's going to do. I have no idea how he's going to react to this knowledge, and I'm so thrilled to see what happens. Oh shit, I was just going to say something too, and I absolutely, it's gone. Every time we start to talk about it, I get it, but it's gone. But yeah, I'm so excited to see what Zayn does this episode. I just am thrilled.
And while we're talking about Zayn, this is the episode where he said that he gets in your face like Shannon Sharp. So that was like one of the funniest things that has ever been said on Survivor Time and Change. So obviously, like, in my notes, when I realized that it was a foregone conclusion, I said, like, you know, in all caps, Zayn made the merge, God is good. And then when he survived this vote, I was like, hell yeah, like, I just love watching him.
On the note of funniest things that have ever been said on the STC, I can't believe this hasn't been said yet, is when Sam finds the advantage and then Richard's talking about it and he goes, yeah, props to him. I like anybody who shoves things up the butt. Yeah. I died.
Richard
I was watching it. Oh my God. It was...
Oh my God. Yeah, that was good stuff.
That to me was the funniest line of the episode. And had this been like a rated R, like a title name, that would have beat out like My Sweaty Body or whatever the episode title was. It should have been that. Sorry, Jake, go ahead.
No, it had to be it.
It had to be. But I'm excited for this girl gang thing. Obviously, I love women. So I was excited to see this kind of start. And that relationship with Cam and Haley, I'm excited to see how that kind of plays out. Because I think that they both are like really smart players. And they kind of have their own things going on. So to see how those clash, but then also work together, I'm really excited to see how that plays out. And then how Sam fits into all this too. Because not that he's not connected. It's just, I think that there's I have a little more confusion about where Sam's loyalty lies with everyone left versus like everyone else seems pretty clear. So I'm excited to see how Sam kind of fits into all this because I don't totally know what happens through this point. I knew up to the merge, but a lot of this post merge, I really don't know how it played out. So I'm excited to see what happens here.
Especially since I feel like Sam's only like very visible connection is with Emily, and Emily is already knowing that she doesn't want to like tell him about this girl gang. So if he loses his only like really solid connection and makes this giant move at final 9, like Sam gets 100% of the credit for this move, and everyone on Puai is going to say this was Sam's move. And I feel like at the time, whatever time you want to flip on one of their own, Sam's going to be the first one to go. So as much as I love a big move at final 9, but like he's got, I feel like a lot of game left to play where he has to almost chill out again and make it seem like it was a fluke that he had this really big, awesome strategic move, or he's gonzo in the next few votes. Just out of everyone realizing, oh shit, Sam can actually play, we're screwed. I think there are still a few bigger strategic threats ahead of him, like at least visible ones, not to say that he's not a strategic player. So I think he's safe for a little bit, but I worry that this is going to put him as if you can check that I have a winner's move box, you're going to get voted out. And that's also why I'm worried about Tanner coming up now, because now Tanner is the biggest strategic visible threat left in the game. Like everyone knows how hard Tanner's playing, especially now that Richard's gone. Like Tanner's the meat shield, I think, for the part of the season. Tanner's the strategic meat shield, though. Cam's the social one. Everybody's saying Cam's name is a good player, as someone they like want to work with, blah, blah, blah. Either Cam wins this game or her days are numbered. There's no in between for me. She's either going to the end and for some reason people are stupid enough to bring her there, or she's gone. Like there's just no way it's going to go either way. I think she's out in the next couple votes, or she makes it to the end and wins. Or fourth place. I don't know if it's a final 2 or final 3, but she's final juror, or she's out next. She doesn't hit the medal. That's my guess.
I think what I've been seeing develop is like this kind of what I have like a little diagram drawn out here is like you have 4-on-4 now going into the next episode from tribe lines, but 2 of those on each side are like the girl gang now that has been formed. So that's a 4 in of itself. And so when I look at it that way, I see like this core of 4 of Emily, Aaron, then Haley and Cam. That's the 4 that I see in the middle that like I think a lot of them are in the middle because now Richard, who was holding together some of the others, is gone. So I see like 4 people rotating around that. I see Sam, who explicitly now has made this big move and has commented on how that could be his case at the end of the game. He can point to that as the end of the game, his big move. And what you were saying is like those are the people who now people are going to start looking to get out because they want to make sure those people don't make it to the end. So I'm worried for Sam. I see Noah. I don't know what he's doing, so I can't. But again, I guess like what you were saying is Noah was going to be a target at 9, so maybe he's in trouble. I don't know. And then I see Tanner, who now is freed up a little bit and got what he kind of wanted earlier in the game, but didn't have the guts or I guess the resources or the time to do it before. Like he got Richard out. He's been talking about having wanted to get Richard out and keep Zane. Now he finally has that scenario. So maybe this frees him up a little bit. And then lastly, I look at who am I missing? I look at Zane. So Zane is just an anomaly to me. So I think you have this core and then the 4 people going around it are like total anomalies because of all different reasons.
It's a very interesting merge dynamic. I'm really excited to see if this girl gang sticks or not. Because as we all know in Survivor history, the longer women try and stick together in the merge, the more they target each other. So I'm just worried that like I can see it now. Eventually Haley's gonna be like Cam's gonna beat me in the end and Haley's gonna try and cut Cam. I think that's gonna happen. I would bet some money on that probably. Or I don't know. I think Cam thinks she can beat Aaron, but I think Aaron is probably the best. Aaron, maybe Emily. I don't know. I don't know if Tanner's more loyal to Aaron or like maybe like Sam and Emily. That might help her out, and like maybe Sam, Emily, and Noah. I think either Aaron or Emily is probably the best like position in this game because I feel like they're low enough threat level, like early enough in the purge, that people aren't going to actively try and target them quite yet. And they're going to be, I think, if they're have the strategic prowess enough, like if Emily uses her idol right, you know, if Aaron makes connections well enough, they could really like take out, you know, like, hey, Sam slayed Richard, we're gonna slay Sam. That's my big move at Final Six, you know, and then that's when you need to make that move. So I could see one of them doing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, they're both in the know in that girl gang, but they're not the highest profile people. So it gives them knowledge of both sides. And then Emily with her idol too, that's like a huge thing that I'm excited to see how that plays out because she's got that allegiance to Sam. Does she stick with that and protect him? Does she throw him to the wolves and let it go? There's just a lot of things where it's like, I think those two are kind of, we haven't talked about a ton, but I think that they're really, like you said, they're set up so well to like make a move. It's just interesting to see if they will do it and how they do it and when. So I'm excited for that.
Do people know how close Sam and Emily are? I feel like we always see, are they close? I interpret them as close based on the edit.
Oh, they're like best friends.
Okay. Because I feel like every time we see Emily, she's talking to Sam. Like I feel like almost her narrative is through Sam in this, especially in this episode. And so I feel like if Emily gets, but do other people know that in the season at this point in time? Do they know how close they are?
I don't know if the cast knew how close.
See, because my thing is, if they know how close they are, they probably aren't going to tell Emily of any plots to get Sam out. But if this girl gang happens and they start going after Sam and Emily's like, I don't want that to happen, that could be a really awesome moment for her to use her idol, and I would love to see her use it correctly.
Because I almost think back to, or I'm sorry, Zach, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think people know the closeness of the relationship, but people know that they have been on a tribe together since the start.
And obviously Sam went to Rocks for Emily.
Yeah.
So they know they're like close to a degree.
Yeah. What I was thinking, I was going to bring up the Rocks thing was like the only evidence, I guess, of it. But also in College Survivor, one thing I really think is always challenging is you don't see these people living together. So like there was no way to really know if they were actually close because when they were meeting, they're meeting in private. And then the only interaction where you saw them in public was challenges and tribals. So my assumption would be they probably didn't know. But I guess the Rocks would be the only evidence that they were close.
Lisa Hammett, our Dolphin Queen, said that she thinks Tyler knew, but he wouldn't help himself.
Oh. Right.
Shout out Lisa. Thank you, Lisa.
I also think a pair that we haven't really talked too much about is that Richard and Aaron were really close. They were together the entire game.
Richard went to Rocks for her.
Yeah, Richard went to Rocks.
And they made the idols together. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Aaron, despite being low profile in everyone's eyes, I think has had a very high profile game where she's gone to almost every tribal council. She was okay. Good job.
We'll get to that in a second.
I think she has had a visible game on the outside, but people still don't see her as a high-profile player. And I'm interested to see how she does when her closest ally and Richard is now out of the game.
First of all, I love that for Aaron. I love that Richard's gone for her because it opens up her door so much. And now she can take credit for all the moves her and Richard did together. Everything they did together are now Aaron's moves. Like Richard is done. Because basically, like, you can believe as much as like Richard wants to say. And I don't know how petty of a player Richard is. I don't know how petty he's going to be on the jury. But like, if she gets to the end game and she says, Richard and I did this, Richard and I did this, or like, I did this, I did this, I did this. Unless Richard actually comes out and says, absolutely not, those were my moves. Like, fuck you, bitch. You can't take credit for that. Which would be really shitty of him to not help his number one ally win the game like that. Aaron has so much under her belt. Also, she had people go to Rocks for her. Like, how, that's incredible. The fact that you are like that good of an ally to someone that they are willing to go to Rocks for you in the pre-merge. Are you kidding me? Like, That's insane. So I think Erin's playing a phenomenal game. I think she's letting other people be the prime targets. I think she has really great relationships. She has Cam as her social meat shield. She's in all the same conversations. I would love to see Erin win this game. I would love to see it, and that's why I know we aren't there yet. She is number 1 on my winners list. I think she'd be a phenomenal winner. I would love to see her take it in the end.
Does anybody else have any comments on the episode or anybody and what they did?
I'm gonna go get a beer. I saw Erin drinking a beer. I want one.
Okay, so let's actually, when Sam sits down, we'll move on to the winners list. So if you guys want to, whoever go, tell us your list. You can explain any of your picks, why you put them there.
In this dead time, I do want to say that immunity challenge looks so fun. I was like very jealous. I think the challenges this season have been really great. Like, not that the challenges season 1, 2, 3 weren't, but I think that these ones feel like a lot of fun.
What are you trying to say, jerk?
I helped plan a lot of those in season 2 and 3, so don't.
We'll say this one, the balloons with our like Mario Kart season 5, we blew up a bunch of balloons and did Hungry Hippos, and we like bought the little floor scooters.
That's awesome.
Oh my god, that looks.
It was a beast in that challenge. Also, she was crazy. Like her at the beginning, she said, "I'm gonna go buck wild real quick," and she was bam, 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 like started stomping on everyone. I was like, I was waiting for everyone to just like sit there calmly, and she said, "Nope, like, we're gonna play now." And it was
Cam was an absolute beast in that challenge. Holy shit! Like, if she makes the finals and loses, like Ozzy Lust is gonna be crying himself to sleep again because like. She was unbelievable.
There's so many funny moments. I remember watching earlier, and you just see Emily chasing Erin, and she goes, "She's chasing me. I don't know what to do."
Or
I was
yelling at everyone, saying, "I thought we were friends. I thought we were friends." Like, queen shit. Oh my god, that was
all of Who I getting out, and they go, that was weird.
That's suspicious.
I know.
Weird.
I love Tanner going, I hope it wasn't too obvious we were charging Kuai when all
that was so funny.
are immediately out. Also, can we talk about how Richard steps on his own balloons?
Yeah, shot himself in the foot. How poetic.
So did Tanner. He lost at the very end.
Oh, that I thought almost like very poetic justice that Tanner and Cam were the last ones in, since they were the ones that were clearly like the best in going the hardest at that challenge. I feel like every time, like those are the only 2 that I think eliminated anyone from the game were Tanner and Cam. So I was glad they were the final 2. But obviously,
they were the ones working the hardest, and I will say, like I've done this challenge before when I went to go visit Austin Trupp in Maryland for his reunion. And when we did it, Holly from Survivor Maryland tore her ACL, and this challenge terrifies me. So yeah, so I'm watching this, and I am like, all I am looking at are these people's ankles. I'm like, they are going to break. And I'm in medical school now, so like I'm watching this, and I'm thinking like, holy shit, what's gonna happen? They're gonna like do some like crazy inversion of their foot, and I'm gonna want to run out there and treat it like. But this happened years ago, and like that's happening in my mind as I'm so nervous for them. But this challenge is great.
Now. Let's do it when we're drunk. That'd be fun. Like maybe not now that Greg said that. It kind of reservations.
Retreat.
Yeah, I was also going to
point out.
So on the note that Zack said, I was actually going to bring up like also how poetic it was that Richard steps on his own balloon, and like to me that was like a kind of a metaphor for the episode where I'm like he shot himself in the foot, and so to me I thought that was funny. But anyways, yeah.
All right. So who wants to start our power rankings?
Yes, power rankings from 8 to 1. 8 least likely to win, 1 being who you think is.
You can explain like anyone you want to.
Let's let Jake go first because Sam has talked too much for my liking.
Sam, we'll put you last.
I know enough that I didn't want to do a power ranking because I felt
okay, that's fair.
So I just like a couple people I want to shout out in terms of like who I haven't got my eyes on. Haley for sure was a big one for me. I think that first episode she made a really good impression for me, like and how she played, and obviously that. There's always that fear of like you're playing too hard at the beginning, but she kind of had to. So like I was drawn to that. But then like this episode, like Sam pointed out, she was like really on it in terms of like every meeting she was making moves. She was talking to people. She got that girl gang to kind of come together. So there's a lot of things where she's kind of in the driver's seat. And then Sam is another big one, although I don't necessarily know how far he's going to make it, because I think making his big move at 9 is definitely a little bit scary because it opens him up as a threat, whereas all up until this point, he was so under the radar, and now I think that he's become a bigger character in this game. And then I think Cam is another one for me. I think that Greg has talked about it a lot in terms of her kind of social ability, and whether or not that is a benefit or a detriment to her moving forward. I think that she is always kind of in the know on everything, which is like impressive as a player. Does it let her win at the end? I don't know. But I do think that she definitely is a player and someone that I'm kind of watching. So those are my 3. I mean, everyone else, and I've said this like a couple times, like to Zach and to other people, I think this cast is probably one of our strongest ever, in terms of like, there's not one person that was left even before the merger that I was bored of, like, or like didn't care about their storyline. I think that season 1 was boring to me. I was in it and I thought it was boring. I think that half of us were so like lame and like didn't really play. Like it just was so boring. So like watching this has been so fun, and I think everyone is like really complex and interesting. So I mean, it's hard to like pick a couple people to root for, but those are kind of the few that I'm thinking of. Lisa, I love you. That was not shade to you, Lisa. I know you're in here, but we were boring. I think that's fair to say.
Jake, to actually piggyback off you, out of all 5 seasons I worked in, season 4 is my favorite cast, because I think they somehow just hit the mark in having like the perfect amount of, they all loved each other and like loved playing with each other so much, but they were all so strategic at the same time, and it comes through very well.
And I think also, just as an organization, every single person, I think, except for like one person, applied to be on crew, and
They loved it. They loved it so much.
like 14 out of 16 of them like came to like kickoff, were involved in parties, were involved in e-board. Like Max, Haley, Richard, and Kim ended up being on e-board after their season. Like it was a very involved group, even for people who weren't necessarily.
And I mean, they're still involved now is the other thing. It's like, even this many years later, they're still heavily involved. Like, and you can't really look at other seasons and see the amount of people that come from season 4. Like half of the people that come to like our events and are like our drunk Viber, they were like season 4 people. So it's just like a lot of them are kind of still part of this. And so, I mean, obviously that's great for the org, but like even in the season, like these people care about each other, and it's like interesting to watch people that don't hate each other like actually play this game and like play really hard. So it's
like the end of Richard's confessional, I filmed that, and I don't remember like filming a lot of things, and I was like, that is one of the sweetest things like I've heard at the end of a confessional. It's just how much he loved being a part of it in general.
Yeah, that was especially like even at the start of the merge episode when they talked about like how difficult it was to put out Zandy. Like they didn't trust her for shit, and they were like, we love her, like we absolutely adored her. That was so hard, and like, oh, I feel so bad for them the further like the further this game goes on, because like once you hit merge, like, oh, it just hurts. It just hurts to vote people out. So I pity them for that for sure, especially since they are that close. And I'm so happy that they were so involved. It makes me.
All right, Aaron, you got some power rankings for us?
I surely do.
Uh-oh.
So I think that for me, there's a top 5 and there's a bottom 3, and it was hard for me to sort of separate the top 5, but we'll get to that. And this is of course this is most likely to win, so this doesn't have any bearing on who I like or who I enjoy watching. So I have to put Zane in 8th. He's probably my favorite player to watch, but and like he is like trying to play, like he's I just don't think that he has the knowledge like to make the moves that would probably be necessary, and I also don't know if he has. I mean, I definitely know he doesn't have the relationships that would be necessary to make it far there. 7 is I put Noah. I just I agreed that like I don't know what he's doing, and And what worries me about that is like I don't know if he's doing anything. Like he's not driving anything. I'm not convinced he's even trying to drive anything. It's not a bad thing to be under the radar, but we know that he was going to be the target last vote, so he's not even really that. So I'm not confident in Noah right now. 6, I put Tanner. Even though I love him to death and he's a great player, I just don't think he's going to be able to get away with, being as high-profile strategic as he's been. Like there's been moves that he's made that I was really impressed that like he got away with without like a lot of sweat on his back, but I just don't see it lasting. And then we get to the top 5. And this is where it gets really hard for me. But I ranked them, and I'm going to stand by it. So I put Haley 5th because I kind of like in this episode today or yesterday's episode, I agree that it was like told through her eyes, and for the longest time, like I thought, oh, she's driving this vote, but then it turned out it was like mostly Sam, and then like Emily was there, and then at her voting confessional, Haley said like I'm doing this because I was told to, which is not a bad like that's fine, but it's not going to be something she's going to be able to take credit for, which is what I had initially thought. But she is getting the girl gang together. She doesn't have really enemies. She can work with whoever she wants. So she, like I said, the top 5 is like really close. So Haley has a great chance. 4th is Sam. Yeah, I think that he made a move. I agree it was a little early. Now, I think he kind of had to do it though. I don't blame him for doing it when he did it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a target there now. I think he has to reassert his alliance with Emily. If he doesn't do that, then he's toast. But if he does do that, I think he has a great chance of going far because Emily's going to be able to, if she has that idol, if she can play it right, she can control a lot of what happens post merge. So that's Sam. 3rd place, I put Cam. Put Cam in 3rd. I love watching her. She absolutely annihilated the challenge. And like she dominated so much. Like I know challenges are a crapshoot, but it does make me think that maybe if she ends up on the out somehow, that she could like ride her way a little bit. I also enjoy the fact that she has no enemies. She can work with anyone. And I'm definitely rooting for her. She's great. And then in 2nd place, I put Aaron. I put Aaron in 2nd place. At 2nd place. Yeah, I think that I do think that Richard leaving opens a lot of doors for her. I think she has a lot more sort of involved in bigger moves than Haley was, which is why I ranked her above Haley. And the other thing that Aaron has going for her is that she's so well liked and so kind and so nice. Like she's the one that I feel like is always saying, like Cam said this too, but I feel like Aaron is the one that always says it first, like how hard the votes are for her. Even when it's clearly like, an enemy person. Like there's no way that anyone is going to be bitter at her if she makes it to the finals. Like I think she has an absolutely fantastic chance. And then right now I put Emily in 1st. I love me some Emily. I think she's got a little snark streak, which I like. I think that I feel like I don't think correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we saw the scene that Sam talked about where they like talked to other people about voting Richard. We just like heard them talk about it in their own conversation, I think. So that being said, like if they were both involved in those conversations and Sam ends up getting voted out, that's Emily's move now, even though he played the advantage, but Emily was definitely involved in that move. And she's another person who I think can work with almost anybody. And she basically gets to make the choice with that idol play that we know is coming. And we know idol plays put targets on your back. We also know idol plays are splashy. Juries like idol plays. People like idol plays. Jackson Tinsley made an idol play, and he won. It was a close vote because Muri dominated. She was amazing, but she lost because Jackson had that idol play. Idol plays are splashy, and if Emily makes the right decision with hers, I think she could ride it all the way to the end. She could control the end and ride it to the end. So that is what I think.
Okay. Greg, I know you're similar to Jake, where you kind of know what goes on. So if you have any thoughts you'd like to share, feel free.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't make a power ranking only because I do know a lot of the results. So I'm not going to really get into that. But I think some things worth pointing out that I had written down were, I think some of these people have a lot of the traits that I look for in a Survivor winner. A lot of them have those things. And I think I want to like highlight what I think those traits are for a lot of those people. For someone like Sam, I see conviction. I see someone who like took charge of a decision, and that is his decision. And he knows if he makes it to the end that he is going to be able to talk about that. I see someone like Zane who exudes that confidence. And if he gets there, he's going to just be able to say, I made it here and the target was on me the whole time and you still didn't manage to get me. I think someone like Noah could say, you forgot about me and I was under the radar this entire time, but little did you know I was a part of these big decisions. And then someone like Tanner, who I think for someone like Tanner to say, like, I've been thinking about these moves like getting out Richard, and I was the strategic mastermind with Richard, but also knew that he needed to go for me to play my game, and then maybe seeing him go and do that now. And then with the girls, I see someone like Haley. It's the perfect story arc. You look at this girl who literally should have been the first boot because of her performance in the challenge and comes all the way back around and makes it to the end. My God, that would be so cool. I see someone like Emily, I think like what Aaron was saying, and has this idol and a lot of like kind of relationships kind of stirring around her, but she is still getting pulled into important conversations and really is in the know in a lot of things and has been gutsy not playing the idol. I see someone like Aaron who is super likable and someone who I think back to like in season 2's winner who like people just loved them as a person. And I think that's super valuable is like you want someone to represent your season who you enjoy as a person. So Aaron is super likable. And then I see Cam. Cam is badass. Cam is consistently dominating in challenges. She is the social queen of the season, Sam said earlier. I think Cam has a lot of benefit there too. So everyone has something that when they get to the end, they're going to be able to point to. I think that's awesome. And like Jake said, I think this is a super strong cast. And I would agree. I think it's one of the strongest in all of the ones that I know of. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Last but not least,
that was so
Sam
sweet.
Lechner.
That was so sweet, first of all. That was so nice.
That was very good. I also really heavily stand this cast. Like I could pretty much like I could get down with anyone at the merge winning this season. I agree with Greg. I think they all have a reason to. Funny thing is, Aaron and I have very similar takes. So love that for us. My bottom 3 are the same as his. Zane is my number 8. There's no way in hell that man wins this season. I adore him. I think he's so fun to watch. I love his casting, everything. But I just think regardless of if he gets to regardless of his like story arc, the fact that he was a target the whole time, I don't think anyone will respect his game enough to get him the win at the end if he gets there. I also think there's no way in hell he gets there because he doesn't have the relationships to get him there. But I would rejoice in seeing him get farther because he's just such a joy to watch. Then I have Noah. The man is basically non-existent in the edit this far. There's no way he wins this season. I'm sure he's lovely. He seems like a very nice boy. I don't see it happening. At number 6, I have Tanner, and I hate myself. If I could do anything, if I had 3 wishes from a genie, it would be that that Tanner wins season 4 of STC. That's my first wish. I love him so much, but there's just no way. There's literally
That's your first wish. Your first wish.
my first wish.
I didn't be in the 3, but your very first one is going to be that.
Wish is that Tanner wins season 4.
What are your second and your third? A hot
There's
dog?
what are second ones that I did ask
what
for
else
out
is
instead.
My second one is that Greg and I get married.
You can't wish for love. Okay, keep going.
My third one is an end to COVID. Okay, no, I'm done. But on the real,
Me, Sam, and Jake all going.
no, it breaks my heart to rank him so low, but I just think he has no shield anymore with Richard being gone, unless he like completely turns on Cam, who I think is his only even chance at having a shield of like someone who's like a bigger, stronger player than him, because Cam is so dynamic and badass and amazing, and like everyone loves her, and I think it'd be easy to paint a target on her, but I also don't think he wants to do that, and it's just there's a lot there, but I really just I don't see Tanner winning. I want him to win so much, but I think his days are numbered. So there's a very clear also, I think almost like 1 in 4 and 5 and 8 for me. I would slightly switch it. My 5 is Cam. She's incredible. She is literally who I want to be when I play a game, and who I sometimes like edge into, but I'm mostly like a Richard. She is so social. Everyone loves her, but it's already like in the next episode, you can already see scenes from the next episode. She's called out too soon. People know how big of a player she is. Like I said earlier in this review, she either goes out like in the next 2 votes or is final juror. I just don't see anyone allowing Cam to make it to the end. I think it'd be a mistake to let her get to the end, because I think if she makes it to final tribal council, hands down, she wins. So I had Cam at 5. I would, again, in my dreams, Cam or Tanner wins this season. I would adore that. At 4, I have Emily. For some reason, in the gut of my being, I don't think she plays the idol correctly. I just feel like she's not going to play it right, or she's going to play it in a way that's like doesn't really affect the season as much as it could. I don't know. I think the idol gives her potential to lift her up on my list. I also just think that like I'm not entirely invested in her character arc compared to other people on the season. So I think that's why I ranked her lower. I could see her winning. Again, I could see anyone in the top 5, similar to you, Aaron. I could see anyone in the top 5 winning this season. The only people I've entirely ruled out are Tanner, Noah, and Zane, who I don't think will win. Third, I have Sam. I think if Sam can manage his threat level from this move and kind of like get back in with his relationships, I think he could make a further run. I also could see him getting booted in the next few rounds. I have Haley at 2nd. I think that, again, her character arc for the season would be really incredible. I would love to see, similar to what Greg said, going from almost being first boot to making it to the end. I really see it. I'm worried, though, how hard she came into the merge, like really pushing her agenda. I'm worried she's going to keep that up and soon become a threat within the rounds to come, because she's going to be pushing her agenda so much that people are going to get sick of that. I could really see that happening for her. My winner pick, the person I really think is going to take it home right now, is Aaron. And similar to what Greg said, the winners of seasons 1 and 2, who I can think of off the top of my head, I can't think of who wins season 3. I don't remember. I watched it happen.
That's a spoiler.
Yeah, we're not talking about it. The winners of seasons 1 and 2, when I was relating, because there was like before we did this, there was like how do you feel about the characters this season, the strategic play compared to last seasons that you were on exec for? I related Aaron to the winners of seasons 1 and 2. She was the player I thought of when I thought of Jackson, when I thought of, I don't know if we're revealing the winner of season.
That's fine.
Alex. Like I thought of Aaron. I was like, I feel like she's so likable. I feel like she is in the perfect spot. She can take credit for so many moves now that Richard's gone. Like, I think her game is so good right now. Like, I don't think that she's playing the best game of everyone that's here. Like, if I had to like pick a winner right now, obviously like I would want Tanner or Cam to win. But I think in longevity of the game, Aaron has the best chance at winning based on what she's done so far, what she has the ability to do in the future, the mobility, the flexibility to do in the future. I think she's playing a great game. I would love to see her win it. Not as much as Cam or Tanner, but like I would love to see Aaron win the game. I think she'd be a phenomenal representation of the season. But I will completely agree. I love this cast. I mean, like, I would love to see any of them win. I just think that there's a very clear, like, some people have a very solid chance of getting there, and some people have a very, very small chance of getting there based on the way the game's playing out right now. So I'm really excited to see what happens.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for your opinions. I can't wait for you to see how the season plays out because it's a doozy. There's a lot of interesting things still to come. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to talk about before we end the broadcast?
Season 3 in the works. I think season 3 is in the works.
Yeah.
In progress. So for those of you that are not from STC, obviously we're airing them out of order, but Zack and I and a couple other folks, Lisa is helping out. Someone from season 3 that you'll meet at some point is also helping out too. So we've got a team working on this now. So hopefully we're making some momentum. We'll let season 4 air out first, and then we'll start transitioning back into season 3. So look forward to that.
You acting like season 3 will even be remotely close to done by the time season 4 is done airing.
No. I mean, we've got some headway, but I mean, it'll take some time.
We have some headway.
Shut up, Zack. Shut up, Zack.
And while we waited 10 months to resume season 4, that won't be the case anymore. The episodes are, I think they're all finished at this point.
Yes.
Correct. And so they should be coming out more regularly. Just make sure you check the Survivor Time Change Twitter for, they'll tweet like links to the episode, but also what time they'll be on YouTube and everything, so you can watch them.
Yes.
And
as far as I'm aware, Wednesday at 7:30 for new episodes. Season 3 is in the works, and there's a lot of good Survivor Time and Change left to come.
Survivor Time and Change currently is on season 9 this semester.
That's wild. I was gonna say the thing I wanted to say before, like, if whoever was watching this, this is like so cool to see this group talking right now to me, and talking about season 9. Like, that to me is insane. As like the person who started the organization in conjunction with this group, all of us were there on day 1. And to see it come this far is super cool. I think it's so cool that we can even have these discussions. I'm pretty far removed from the community at this point, having now graduated and being in medical school, and even like handing off season 3 to other people to edit because I just could not handle it. But at the same time, like, I have a lot of love and a lot of appreciation for what you guys are doing, and thank you for keeping this alive. I know all of us have graduated at this point, but we all still care about this so much. And that means a lot as like the people who were there from the very beginning. And I know that I speak for everyone here when I say, like, it's so exciting to see the passion still live on when we're all so far removed from it at this point. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. Like, season 9 is happening. Like, I'm beyond proud to have been here from the beginning, and it's just unbelievable, the passion and the connections that we make and that are still being made in this organization are astounding to me. It's absolutely amazing. Like, I'm not like super active anymore, but like on the other hand, like, I hope that like in 10 years I can just like drop by a tribal council and just like freak them out. Like, if it keeps going like that, like I feel like we all, like all 6 of us and like, 50 other people from like the first couple of years, like, we have like a legacy here, like, and we're still building like lasting connections out inside and outside the game, and it's just so lovely. It's just so great.
Allie Donahue was the last season 1 contestant. She just graduated last semester.
Wow. Like
the longest lasting of us.
Literal dagger to my heart. Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh man.
We created something really special here. That's cool.
How old is everyone else? Because 25 is scary. Like,
I'm 24.
25 is scary.
I'll be 25 in March.
I'm 23. I'll be 24 in March.
Because Aaron, you said we'll pop it in 10 years. You'll be 35 if you pop it.
Yeah, I
in
know.
10
That's
years.
why it would be so freaky for the children.
Imagine a 35-year-old.
Oh man.
Back in my day, we had
Literally,
tribal
like,
council
Greg
over
shows up
Zoom.
as a 35-year-old man to this college campus and says, I started this all. He's like, who the hell are you? It's so weird. Ugh.
I know. Yeah.
I wonder how many PVC pipes and scooters are going to be in someone's basement at that point in time.
They've upgraded from
You know?
The Home Depot buckets
The
and
Home Depot.
Yes.
those
Not
fucking,
very cancel
cardboard
it.
bricks that. Jesus.
guys. My God, we've created something super special here, haven't we?
This is incredible.
Aw.
I like honestly, this is like kind of shitty of me to say, but like I honestly didn't think it was gonna live past us. I thought it was gonna die as soon as we left. But the fact and like that's just shitty of me to say and believe, but like the fact that this community still exists and is arguably even stronger than when we started it is
Mhm.
just so it makes me so happy because I feel like I got such a solid community from STC in college. Like it was one thing, it was just a group of people I felt I could be the most authentic version of myself with, and it was incredible. And it led me to so many, like, honestly, if I had never done STC, I wouldn't have eventually played the live game I played because Greg and I wouldn't have been as close as like we were because of STC. I wouldn't have like done the online Survivor community. Like so many things in my life would be different now had this organization not existed. So I just feel so lucky to have been a part of it, and I'm just so ecstatic that it's still happening and that people are getting such incredible relationships because of it now. And that I'm just so happy. I'm so thrilled. It makes me so happy.
Everyone's coming to Cali when this shit is over. Mark your calendars.
Woo!
And I
Hell yeah.
know the funniest thing about like this 6 right here is that I'm pretty sure we asked you guys back in like February or whenever when we thought episodes were still coming out soon if you wanted to do this. So shout out to everybody who's here 10 months later who we were like, do you guys still want to do this? Like, would you still be interested? And you all were just like, oh my God, yes.
100%.
Shout out to
Wouldn't
Sydney Donahue. Wow, miss you, girl.
We love her.
Sydney's on the chat.
She's here. Put her on the
Hey,
line. Put her on. I'll drop
Oh,
off.
God.
I want her on here.
Say that wasn't
There's
fair.
so many comments. I haven't had the comments up the whole time.
It's all fun.
There's a lot.
Oh
It's
my
mostly Tanner talking about the Utah Jazz.
I was like, what is this tangent going on in the middle of this?
Okay, now that we're
Hey, y'all. Cheers to STC.
off tangent, cheers to STC. Thank you guys so much for coming on and talking about the episode and everything. We've been so happy to have you and have this little mini reunion of us oldies.
Us old.
So that's all we have. Watch out for new episodes. Thank you for watching the episode and this and supporting STC. Go Bucks.
And go.
Go Bucks.
And go back.
Go Browns.
Uh,